A wealthy woman, unaware of the trap her husband is setting, is emotionally manipulated into signing away her entire estate and luxury mansion. She thinks it's just a formality, but behind the scenes, he's plotting to take everything. When things seem irreversible, her lawyer uncovers shocking details in the documents, revealing her husband's betrayal and turning the entire scheme against him in a single, explosive courtroom twist. The room smelled faintly of fresh paint and polished wood, the kind of scent that usually made me feel proud of my home. But that day, it made me nauseous. The mansion that once echoed with laughter now felt eerily quiet. I sat at the grand oak table, a stack of papers spread before me, each line of fine print tightening a knot in my stomach. My husband, Daniel, stood over me, his voice unusually calm, almost rehearsed. "Just sign it, Emma," he said softly, as if it were nothing. "It's a standard transfer, just some legal housekeeping. You trust me, don't you?" His eyes locked on mine, steady, warm on the surface, but there was something behind them, a coldness I'd never noticed before. 5 years of marriage had taught me to read his moods like chapters in a book. But this page, this was unfamiliar. I glanced down at the signature line. $1 million estate. Luxury mansion. My name. His name. My lawyer wasn't there. Why wasn't he there? "Why are we doing this now?" I asked, my voice smaller than I wanted it to be. Daniel chuckled, stepping behind me and placing his hands gently on my shoulders. "Because it's the perfect time, sweetheart. We're expanding. We need this estate in one name for tax purposes. You hate this legal stuff, I know. That's why I handle it. It's just easier this way." His fingers tightened slightly. It wasn't affectionate. It was control. I wanted to say no. Something in me screamed to stand up, to call my lawyer, to not pick up that pen. But there was a part of me that remembered the man who once held my hand in the rain, who whispered dreams into my ear, who made me believe we were a team. So I picked up the pen. The tip hovered above the paper when a sudden flash of memory hit me. 2 nights ago, I had overheard a phone conversation. Daniel's voice was low, urgent, laced with a kind of excitement I hadn't heard in years. "Once it's signed, everything's ours. She won't even know what hit her." I had brushed it off as a business deal. But now, every word echoed like a warning bell in my head. I hesitated. Daniel leaned closer, his breath warm against my ear. "Emma, don't make this difficult. You know how much I've done for us. This is for our future. Trust me." I signed. One swift motion. My hand trembled as the ink dried. He kissed my temple like nothing had happened, then gathered the documents quickly, almost too quickly, and slipped them into a leather folder. That was the moment I didn't realize I had just handed away my entire world. The following weeks moved like a blur. Daniel became distant, more secretive. Late-night phone calls, meetings I wasn't invited to, sudden trips out of town. The staff started avoiding eye contact with me. One morning, I overheard 2 maids whispering near the staircase. "She doesn't even know, does she?" one said. "The house isn't hers anymore." The words slammed into me like a brick. That afternoon, I confronted Daniel in his office. His laptop screen lit his face in the dim room, spreadsheets and emails flashing across. "What's going on?" I demanded. "What have you done with the estate?" He didn't look up. "I told you, it's just paperwork." "No," I snapped. "I'm not stupid. I want the truth." He slowly closed the laptop and leaned back in his chair, a faint smirk tugging at his lips. "Emma, you really should read what you sign. Everything is in my name now. The estate. The mansion. All of it." My breath caught. "You can't do that. It's ours. We built this together." "No," he said coldly. "I built it. You just lived here." Something shattered inside me. This wasn't the man I married. This was a stranger wearing his face. That night, I locked myself in the guest room. My hands shook as I pulled out every document I had, old emails, receipts, property records. The more I read, the clearer it became. This wasn't sudden. He had been planning this for months, setting traps in plain sight, making me feel comfortable while he stripped away every ounce of my security. I called my lawyer the next morning. His voice was calm, professional, but I could sense the tension underneath. Emma, bring everything. Every document you have. Don't speak to him about this again. The mansion that had once been a symbol of love now felt like enemy territory. Every hallway whispered secrets. Every room reminded me of the betrayal signed in black ink. Daniel pretended everything was normal. He still smiled at dinners, still played the role of the charming husband when guests came over. But behind closed doors, the mask slipped. "You don't own anything anymore," he would say quietly, almost like a taunt. "So, be careful what you do." The lawyer's office smelled of leather and old books. He sat across from me, flipping through the signed documents with furrowed brows. "This is interesting," he murmured. "He made you sign over everything," but he trailed off, scanning the fine print. His eyes sharpened. "Emma, did you notice this clause?" I leaned forward. "What clause?" He turned the paper toward me and pointed to a paragraph buried deep in the legal jargon. It was something I hadn't understood, something Daniel had glossed over. This clause states that the transfer is conditional upon joint marital consent for future sales. Which means, he looked up at me, a slow smile forming. "He can't sell the estate without your explicit approval." He thought he was smart, but he overlooked this. "And that's where we'll strike." For the first time in weeks, hope flickered. As I left the lawyer's office that day, the wind hit my face like a wake-up call. I wasn't broken. Not yet. He may have trapped me on paper, but the game wasn't over. And deep down, I knew. Daniel had no idea what storm was about to hit him. The sun was dipping low when I pulled into the driveway, its golden light spilling across the mansion's stone walls. For years, this view had made me feel safe. That evening, it looked different, almost like it belonged to someone else. Daniel's car wasn't there. And for once, I was grateful. I needed time to think, to breathe, to plan. I walked through the front doors, and every sound echoed. The creak of the hinges, the soft thud of my heels against marble, the distant hum of the air conditioning. This house had secrets now, and I was finally ready to uncover them. I went straight to Daniel's study. I'd avoided that room since the day he took everything. It used to be a place where we planned our future together. Now it was his war room. Files were stacked neatly on the shelves, a new safe sat tucked beneath the desk, and the faint scent of his cologne lingered in the air like an unwanted reminder. My hands shook as I opened drawers, sifting through contracts, letters, and financial statements. Every page revealed another layer of his deception: offshore accounts, shell companies, secret investments under his name. I felt sick. How long had he been building this double life? I pulled out my phone and started snapping photos of everything. My lawyer's words echoed in my head. Document everything. Paper trails never lie. Just as I closed the last drawer, I heard the crunch of tires on gravel. My heart skipped. He was home. I slipped out of the study and into the hallway, trying to look casual as Daniel stepped through the door. He spotted me immediately. His smile was sharp.
"Emma."
"Waiting up for me." "I live here," I replied flatly. "For now," he said, hanging his coat with infuriating calm. "I had a long day. Let's not start anything." The urge to scream burned in my chest, but I held it in. Not yet. I needed him to keep believing I was broken, that I didn't see through him. Because the truth was, a storm was quietly building behind my silence. Over the next few days, I met with my lawyer every morning in secret. We built a timeline, collected evidence, and pieced together Daniel's elaborate scheme. The more we found, the clearer it became. Daniel hadn't just wanted the house, he wanted everything. The estate was just the beginning. He was preparing to sell major assets, transfer funds overseas, and disappear with a fortune. But he couldn't sell the estate without my signature. That clause was our weapon. On the third day, my lawyer leaned forward, tapping his pen against the contract. "Emma, if he tries to sell without your consent, we can take him to court and freeze every asset he has. But to make this airtight, we need to catch him in the act. We need proof that he's attempting to bypass you."
"How?"
I asked. He smiled. "By letting him think he's already won." That night, I sat across from Daniel at dinner. He was unusually cheerful, almost smug. He poured himself sparkling water and raised a glass. "To new beginnings," he said. I forced a smile. "New beginnings?" "You'll see soon," he replied, taking a sip. "Just trust me." The way he said it made my skin crawl. But I played along, nodding slowly, pretending to be the naive woman he thought he'd broken. The following week, I shadowed his movements quietly. I wasn't confrontational anymore. I was careful, observing, listening. One afternoon, as he stepped out for a meeting, I followed at a distance. His car led me to a luxury real estate firm downtown. I waited across the street, hidden behind my sunglasses, watching through the glass as he shook hands with two men in tailored suits. They laughed, clapped him on the back, and exchanged folders. He was making his move. I immediately sent the photos to my lawyer. Within hours, he set the trap. "Let him continue," he told me over the phone. "The more he commits, the deeper the hole he digs for himself. Once he signs with the buyers, we'll strike." That evening, Daniel came home humming to himself, a rare display of joy. He kissed my cheek lightly and said, "You're going to thank me one day." I almost laughed. 2 days later, my lawyer called with urgency in his voice. "Emma, he's finalizing the sale tomorrow morning. We need you at the courthouse at 9 sharp." I barely slept that night. The house felt colder than ever, like the walls themselves were holding their breath. I sat by the window, staring at the dark outline of the mansion against the night sky, reminding myself that this was mine, not because of paper, but because I'd built this life from the ground up. Morning came fast. Dressed sharply, I walked into the courthouse with my lawyer by my side. Daniel was already there, charming as ever, greeting the buyers with that same calculated smile. He didn't even notice me at first. When he finally turned and saw me standing there, something flickered in his eyes. Confusion, then annoyance. "What are you doing here?" he hissed under his breath. I smiled sweetly. "Oh, I'm just here to make sure everything's legal." He didn't realize the documents he was about to sign were already flagged. My lawyer had filed for an injunction at dawn, freezing any sale attempts on the estate. The moment Daniel put his pen to paper, the court order would activate, exposing his breach of the marital transfer clause. The buyers looked puzzled as whispers spread across the room. Daniel's confident demeanor began to crack. My lawyer stood, clearing his throat. "Ladies and gentlemen, before this proceeds, I'd like to bring to your attention a critical legal clause in the property's title." Daniel turned pale. The lawyer continued, projecting his voice, so everyone could hear. "According to this contract, no sale or transfer of the estate can occur without the explicit, written consent of both spouses. Mrs. Emma has not given her consent. Therefore, any attempt to proceed today is not only invalid, it is a direct violation of the law." The room erupted into murmurs. The buyers exchanged alarmed looks. Daniel stammered, "That clause, it's legally binding," my lawyer interrupted firmly. "And any attempt to bypass it can result in criminal charges for fraud." Daniel's jaw tightened. His plan, months in the making, was unraveling in public view. I met his eyes. For the first time, he looked uncertain. The power dynamic had shifted, and he knew it. As the buyers walked out, disappointed and wary, Daniel turned to me, rage flickering beneath the surface. "You think this is over?" he whispered. "No," I said calmly. "It's just beginning." And for the first time since that terrible day at the oak table, I felt in control.